Is it on?
I think we're good. Is it on? I think we're good. Is it on? I think we're good.
Is that mine or yours?
Is it on? I think we're good. Is that mine or yours? Is it on?
What is this deal?
All right. Can you guys hear us? Okay.
Better than last week?
Check, check. 1, 2.
2 weeks ago? Got loud?
Does it sound all right?
So far. Alright, cool.
For whatever reason, last week was Facebook. It wasn't our audio stuff, I don't think, because the actual podcast worked.
Yeah, podcast was good. Everything else was fine, but...
Does it sound like it needs to be louder or anything?
Must have been... It had to have been that music stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right. Shall we?
Cool. Let's fire this thing up.
All right.
Welcome, guys. Back for another week of Nomex Effect. We're coming to you live from JR's condo.
What episode number is this? 5?
I think it is.
Rolling right along here.
Yeah. So I'm Sean Langdon.
JR Todd.
We're excited to come back, give you guys another show. Got some cool things to talk about today. I mean, so many topics really. We've been kind of talking about a lot of different things just for the last couple weeks since our last episode. But I mean, coming right out of Chicago, what'd you think of Chicago?
Me personally, I would rather forget Chicago, but all in all, I feel like we're still having some track prep issues, but the teams are doing a better job adapting. But there's so many variables and factors that are still going into play that I think that NHRA still has to make up for. Like in Chicago Friday, it was pretty windy.
Yep.
And with maybe a lot of people don't know with the track prep, what they're doing is they're cutting the VHT, which is the glue, with methanol. So they've raised the ratio of methanol to glue, correct?
Yep.
And by doing that, when you spray it, it's going to dry quicker. Therefore, it doesn't stay sticky.
Yeah.
It's drying out quicker. And then when you spray it and it's windy like it was in Chicago, it's going to dry even quicker. So therefore, it doesn't really benefit teams to be at the back of the pack anymore like it used to.
Right, absolutely. And I think that, like you said, a lot of the teams, a lot of the crew chiefs are adapting to it. So I think that they're making better runs now, quality runs. They're able to. It's just going to take time, but it is a little tricky, like you said, when the wind comes in and it dries it up quick. One thing in the past it's always been is if you go out there and you're in the first couple pair for the Friday night session. The Friday night session is typically the session that's going to
set the field.
A lot of times, at least the top 6 or 8. But I think where you're able to see is where a lot of the teams, if you're the first couple pair, you make a good run. Well, now those guys are able to work off of that because they know that that's out there, so they're able to push it. But I think now, as with the different settings that they have on the track, that a lot of these teams, they see those runs, but then they try to push it. Well, as we start going along, it starts, I guess, creating a little bit more havoc for them, where it dries up quicker and it goes away a little bit quicker than before.
Yeah, I think for Friday it's more beneficial to be us funny car drivers, because we're the first nitro cars out, to where if you're a dragster at the back of the pack, you're not getting the best of what's out there. But at the same time, there are cars making good runs. Torrance and AJ with Brittany's car, they made good runs, but there's a lot of inconsistency in qualifying right now with the way the prep is.
Yeah, and you actually see some really good cars qualifying in the bottom half of the field, which actually sometimes makes for exciting first round matchups. I mean, they're for a while on Sunday. You've seen a lot of the teams that were winning in top fuel coming right out of the gate. I think it was after the first 3 or 4 pair, it was all of the lower qualified cars were advancing.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Where clearly lane choice didn't matter, because I saw teams winning out of the right lane, and the higher qualified teams were in the left lane, then swapping lanes after they see that, then go over there and smoke the tires. It's definitely a crapshoot now, and I think that the NHRA is happy with the way the prep is, because in their mind, the lower funded teams, it's given them a better opportunity to race the higher funded teams.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've seen first round. I mean, Torrance rips off the 367 qualifying. Makes, I mean, one of the best runs this year, and then loses to Luigi Novelli first round. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those where. I mean, Schumacher lost first round. Brittany lost first round. Torrance, Antron. I mean, McMillan, he's been running great. There's some really good teams that are losing early. And one thing that's was difficult in the past, where you only have, say, 5 or 6 good running cars, when you kind of fall behind in the points, it's hard to make up the ground, because it always seems like the same cars are going to the second round, the same cars are going to the semifinals. So if you win a race, if you happen to get lucky enough to win a race, then you're only maybe making up 40 points on an event. But now with a little bit of crapshoots going on, you're able to potentially make 80.
Yeah. I mean, myself, am I a fan of what's going on? Not really, because you know what your car should run when the conditions allow it, and now we're not running that. And I'm just concerned about what's going to happen when we get on the hotter tracks, when we get to places like Denver, where it could be, the track temp can get real hot. Well, I take it back. They can cool the first half of the track.
Yep.
But, I mean, there's certain places, Sonoma and what have you, where it can get hot. And, I don't know, times are going to be slow then.
Yeah, I look at tracks like potentially Seattle. I look at tracks like Norwalk.
Right.
I look at tracks like Bristol, where it gets really, really hot. Especially like Bristol or Norwalk, where it could get really humid as well.
And going to Bristol, you got to deal with the bumps there. So you go and deal with all those bumps, and then less prep, and then a hot track. I mean, it can get real dicey there.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, though, I mean, it's kind of funny, we were actually talking about this before the show, but we were talking about what percentage of side-by-side races have there been in the last 3 races, and it hasn't been much. But so there's 2 ways to look at this way of thinking, though, is because when you're racing side-by-side, it's really kind of, for the most part, crew chief against crew chief, right? Where it's just really who's making the most power, who's making quickest ET, what have you. Where sometimes the driver can come into the play, but I'm going to say it's probably like a 75%, 25%, where mainly crew chief versus driver. But now we looked at the last 3 races, and what kind of numbers we come up with?
We got the last 4 races. So starting at Houston, that's where we think all this track prep basically came into play, correct? and this is a combination of funny car and top fuel, the numbers that we came up with, correct?
Yeah.
So Houston on race day, there were out of 30 possible pairs down the track, 26% of them were side-by-side races.
So you basically have side-by-side races on Sunday between Top Fuel and Funny Car. In Top Fuel, you're going to have a total of 15. And Funny Car, you're going to have 15 in Funny Car. So we had, I think there was 4 or 5 in both. So you start to run into now where you have 4 or 5 side-by-side races on race day. I mean...
Right, yeah. Houston, there were 5 in Top Fuel.
Yeah. So you have a race day where now it's just becomes a lot of pedal fest, which there is a little bit of benefit to that too for the more experienced drivers.
Correct. Okay. If I'm lined up against somebody that I feel like I can outdrive or outpedal, then I'm excited about it. But I also look at the fan standpoint, like, yeah, a pedal fest here and there is exciting, but are you really going to pay that much money to go to the race all weekend long to watch cars smoke the tires in qualifying and then continue that trend on race day?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I remember growing up, I always wanted to see the quick times, and I want to see the 330 miles an hour and the fast ETs. And
well, that's what we're advertising.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah.
Don't correct.
Yeah. Come out, watch 330 mile an hour, or come out, watch some pedal fest.
I mean, I did a press conference Thursday in Chicago with Richie downtown, and we're talking to the different news outlets and what have you, and they're like, "Oh man, the weather's going to be good this weekend. It's not going to be hot. It's going to be cool. This place is good. It's known for records and this and that." And you're like, "Yeah, but." Most likely not going to happen this weekend.
Now, on the flip side of it, if we can get conditions where it's cool, for example, Friday night,
right,
you don't necessarily need all that. You don't need all that track prep because you're able to have enough grip with the cooler track temperatures.
Right.
So it's when we go into the countdown, I think you're going to see some good racing in the countdown.
It'll come around then.
It'll come around then. The summer months, that's where it's going to be tough. Because you're going to have, I know the last couple races, when it starts getting hot and track temp starts creeping over 120, man, that driving the car, it's tough because it's on the tire and I sashay side to side, and then the margin of error is minimal,
right?
Because the groove, you have to absolutely, if you get a tire out of the groove, you about got no chance.
I mean, it's hard enough keep a top fuel car in the groove when it's narrow. Now we're talking about a funny car. It's like, it's aggravating. That's where I'm getting frustrated as a driver with the track prep. Because going back to Houston, the concrete, the early on part of the track was good.
Yeah, 100%.
And we knew once we got to the asphalt after Q1, it's like, oh man, it's spinning its ass off down there and it sounds terrible, but you just got to hang on to it. To where now, going back to Chicago this past weekend, it wasn't like it got down there on the asphalt and was like blowing the tires off like Houston. It's just, it doesn't feel glued in. It's like you're fighting it to keep it straight.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, fighting is a good word, really, because the car is kind of hunting around. It's really on the tire, and what I've learned in these funny cars is that when these things smoke the tires, I mean, there's no in the middle of these things. When it makes a move, it's going to make a move, and
it makes you look stupid.
It can, yeah.
Like Friday night,
yeah,
I got left of the groove, maybe a tire out of left of the groove. Sure enough, crank it back the other way and blows the tires off. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, the margin of error is just it's so small right now. So
I guess what I'm asking is, since we're cutting back on the prep and what have you, why can't we just prep the entire lane then?
With more glue?
No, well, what I'm saying is run the tire machines, all that, run them wider, and then spray wider.
creating a bigger groove. I gotcha. Yeah, I mean that's absolutely
to where it's not so critical if you get half a tire or a tire out of the groove.
Yeah, and the hard part on a lot of the summer months too is when you have what we call washout, when the car gets a lot of wheel speed early and it wants to kind of make an initial move, and that's one thing that I've really been trying to get used to driving the funny car. Driving the dragster, after a long time, I felt like I had a good handle on it.
Yeah, you just knew, like...
You just kind of have that feel for it. And in the funny car, now it's... You basically take everything that you had in a dragster and 180 that, and...
It's so critical on how you line the car up.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, driving a funny car, you got to really kind of... You're pointing an opposite way of what you were in the dragster. And then... But I've noticed in the funny car that early on, when you get a lot of wheel speed like that if you start steering it early, you're going to have to probably steer twice as much at the top end with that thing.
Right. Yeah, well, it seems like once you start sawing on it early, then you just put yourself behind it.
Yeah.
You can't catch up.
And that's the hardest thing with these cars is when you get mentally behind in these cars and then trying to... in your mind catch up to it, you'll never catch up to it. It kind of goes from where you feel like you're on top of the wheel driving the thing to you're 100 feet behind the car and your arms are way out in front of you and you're just steering the thing.
Like I've made runs where like, all right, I'm sawing on it early and then I catch myself like I'm still sawing on it and the car's doing this. It's in the groove maybe, but it's wiggling. I was like, what the hell are you doing? Just stop steering it.
It's hard to do. It's very, very, very hard to do.
But yeah, we can go back to what we were talking about, the percentage number. So Houston, 26% of all the nitro cars had side-by-side runs all day on race day. Atlanta, 23%. Topeka, 20%. And this past weekend in Chicago, back to 23%.
So, is that an upswing?
You tell me.
We need more side-by-side racing.
I mean, I'd like to see maybe 40%.
Yeah, and what did we look at the end of last year? I think the numbers were up a little bit more when we were looking at the
like the Pomona, the World Finals, there were at least 11 just in top fuel.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess it's kind of what do you, as a from NHRA standpoint, as a driver standpoint, crew chief standpoint, fan standpoint, what's more important? I mean, obviously we're not trying to go 350 miles an hour because that's not the direction they're trying to take the sport, but it's trying to find that happy medium of in between where you're able to still make good runs, still try to get 320, 325 miles an hour, but not have one of every 5 pair.
Maybe we should
be a side-by-side race.
Maybe we should put a poll on Twitter later with some different options, see what the fans would like. You like pedal fast, side-by-side 330 miles an hour runs, or, whatever.
Yeah. Now, the only thing on, like for driver, the drivers on the side of that is when you have side-by-side racing, I guess I enjoy winning more on a hole shot than I would in a pedal fest.
You take a lot of pride in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, either way, you want to get the win, so it really doesn't matter regardless. But I think having that starting line, being able to, I guess cut a good light and winning on a hole shot. Sometimes those pedal fests get pretty hairy, man. I don't mind winning a pedal fest, but I don't like doing them.
I'd rather the car not go out there and smoke the tires. I want it to go out there and run low ET and me leave on the person.
I finally, for the first time, seemed like I did an okay job pedaling last weekend.
I saw that. You feathered it. That was nice.
Yeah.
They call it on slow-mo.
That's one of those things where you're just like, yeah, I blacked out. I don't know what happened. I mean,
it's so hard to do because the blower is trying to suck the blade shut on the injector, and you're trying to just crack it open with your foot, and the whole thing moves, an inch?
Yeah.
And then you're trying to, just lay it open.
Yeah. while smoking the tires going at that point.
And maybe watching the person the other way kind of driving away from you.
200, yeah. Well, at that point when I was running Tommy, I heard him early, but then, I'm kind of fighting my own stuff, so all that kind of went away, and obviously he had a big old boomer over there when he pedaled the car, but
yeah, in your mind, you're thinking, well, they're going to go driving by me at any time now.
Yeah.
Like, you can't be wasting time not being on the throttle, but at the same time, you can't jump all over it.
I think one of the hardest things driving is when your car smokes early and you see the other car drive away. Well, you want to be able to give yourself an opportunity if something happens to the other car. So when your car smokes or shakes, you pedal it, try to get the thing calmed down, back under power, in the groove, and then it's like you're watching that guy start smoke the tires or hazing the tires. So mentally in your head, you're trying not to watch that because if you're looking that way, you're going to drive that way.
Right.
But you're trying to watch the groove, but you see him, and then you're trying to judge that rate of speed of, I think I can. Well, you had a good one last year when you raced Jack Beckman in Sonoma.
Yeah, and the only reason I did that was because earlier in the year at Englishtown, we're running Robert, and we blow the tires off just like that on the starting line. And generally, like, if you blow the tires off like that, like, it's over.
Yeah.
Unless the other person does it right with you.
Right.
But Robert went out there a couple 100 feet, spun, I think he pelleted it, put a couple holes out, like, just not making a good run. I'm just sitting there watching him the whole time. And I remember John Oak on the radio, he's like, what, you didn't want to pedal it? I'm like, shit.
A lot of times it's kind of one of those, I guess, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yes.
Because if you get back on the throttle and it blows up, then it's, well, why'd you do that? The guy was driving away.
Right.
You just cost us a motor. But then on the flip side of that, you got to give yourself an opportunity. So when you do that, it's learning from the experiences, and as much as when you're driving that you're concentrating on your own car, trying to get the thing settled down and under power, at least to have the opportunity to practice.
Exactly. It gives you good practice, and then it just drives it in your mind, like, do not ever give up until it's over.
Yeah, and that's typically a lot of times how I drive now is I'm going to try to use the opportunity to practice, but once I see him cross the finish line,
right,
or getting close to it, I mean, once they're basically about 800 feet, unless if you're moving on them like a freight train, you really don't have much of a chance.
That's a good point you bring up. Once you see him cross the finish line, shut it down.
Yeah, because you're just wasting fuel at that point.
Yeah, and you're blowing it up, possibly, wrecking the track.
Oiling down.
Just shut it down.
Yeah.
Save everybody the headache.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, this kind of brings up another point is John Force in qualifying. Is, obviously with him, he smoked the tires, got into the wall. So, the guy's had a rough year. I mean, you have to feel for him.
He came out Q1, ran, 98, 97?
97, I believe.
A really good run. So he's in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't going to get bumped out of the top half.
Right.
Because I was 9th with an 01.
Correct.
So, yeah, he smoked the tires Friday night, pedaled it, got away with it, and then Q4, same thing. Like,
yeah, and
you're not going to improve on a 97 when the tracks are as marginal as they are now with the prep by pedaling it. I mean, yeah, you're getting good experience, which he's one of the best at it.
Oh, absolutely. And he's 16-time champion.
Yeah, he's got 1 million runs under his belt.
Yeah, so in an opportunity, or in a situation like that, when you're already qualified at 397 and you go out there and it smokes tires that early, best case scenario, if you pedal it, you might go 420 something, 430 something. If the thing's running on all 8 and what have you, but obviously goes out there and it smokes the tires and he does a quick pedal job and the thing just makes a hard right turn. So
it happened fast,
right? And
which it's going to when the track is prepped the way it is.
Yeah, and when it's on the tire and it's still on the tire and you give it a quick pedal,
right?
And I'm learning this, so it's a lot of times I'll take the TV shows just to watch situations like that to try to learn for myself. But I mean, that's one thing is, when it goes out there and smokes the tires early, thing's got a tremendous amount of wheel speed. And then if you do a quick slap pedal up job like that,
and it's not pointed straight,
and it's not pointed straight, that car is going to make a really hard move one way or the other. And luckily he was in the right lane, and luckily, I can't say even luckily, because obviously we don't want stuff like that happening, but that it didn't make a left-hand turn to go into the other lane, where the other car was.
Yeah, I don't want to see the guy get hurt or hurt somebody else.
No, absolutely not.
And I don't know, by doing some things like that, like, it's questionable.
Yeah, I mean, well, see, we had talked about this earlier. Is like on the NASCAR side. Like if you're in NASCAR, okay, so John goes out there and smokes tires, and he does what he feels like he needs to do to get the car under control, to get the car to go down the track and make a run. Well, he's already qualified. He's got a good qualifying time, 3.97 seconds. So maybe he's using it as practice.
Right.
Okay. Now on the NASCAR side, if you're qualified, you're in a practice session and you're racing a practice session like a race and being aggressive as a driver, I wonder how does that play out? What do they do in that?
I guarantee you that if you're aggressively racing people in practice, that your competitors are going to be pissed at you, for one.
Yeah.
And if you're tearing up the car, the team's going to have an issue with it.
Yeah. Well,
but in that instance, like, he owns the team. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we don't have that luxury of doing that.
Right. But, yeah, I see what you're saying, that we're talking about practice.
Qualifying run, yeah. I mean, it's there's really no right or wrong way to pedal these things. It's a feel, and it that's one thing that I've learned is, and it takes time.
And to me, I feel like that I wouldn't be able to pedal it as well Friday or Saturday as come Sunday.
Right,
because like you're like dialed in on Sunday, like you're focused on getting that thing down the track no matter what.
Right.
To where, like, Friday or Saturday, I'm like, oh, man, it smoked the tires. Oh, I need to pedal it.
Yeah. Now taken back, I have done pedaling in qualifying, typically in situations where maybe on Saturday you're not in the show, or you're in the bottom half of the field.
Right.
You smoke the tires. Or in a rain situation where, okay, maybe we didn't get any runs on Friday, we got runs on Saturday, or it's going to rain all day tomorrow, and this is basically the last session.
In that case, like, you're telling yourself, hey, I might need to pedal it here.
Right. Yeah. And you kind of put yourself, like you said, in race mode where you absolutely need to do whatever it takes to get it down the track.
Right.
But it's, man, I hate it for the guy. You can't question his passion. I mean, the dude lives and breathes the sport, and what he's done for the sport, and the name that...
Yeah, the sport needs him around. That's why I don't want anything to happen to him.
Yeah. We absolutely need this guy around. We need him continuing racing, but it's a tough situation, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You don't want to see someone... I mean, that's 4th or 5th body this year, maybe?
Yeah, a few cars also.
Adds up.
Yeah, and then watching, the race day coverage, like, he was banged up.
Yeah, said he got his shoulder, hurt his shoulder.
I mean, he was a little slow getting in and out of the car and this and that. It's like, don't do that to yourself, man.
Yeah. So, dude, so Clay Millican, man.
Yeah, they got it rolling now. We talked earlier that everybody's lucky that conditions aren't cool and tracks aren't better and this and that, or else they'd be wrecking people. Well, now they're winning no matter what.
Yeah, and one thing that they were able to accomplish in when the track was really good was these guys down low, 60 feet, 330, they were able to just have really, really good 60-foot, 330 times, split times. And where they kind of struggled was they were still fast in the early part of the run, but when it would get hot out, typically, for second round or whatever,
right,
they were having issues, but
couldn't back it down enough.
But Grubby's getting it figured out now.
Yeah, Grubby, he's a smart dude. And like they're definitely a team that seems like they can do a lot with a little.
And they're doing a lot.
I mean, they're not a heavily funded team, and they're running well.
Yeah, and they're back-to-back wins. In this day and age, when you go back-to-back wins, I mean, Courtney's done it in Funny Car, but dude, it's crazy. I mean, he's driving well, and they got
bumping the chute before the finish line, doing some bracket racing there.
Did he? Yeah, that's right. What round was that? Was that
semis? Right?
Yeah, I think so. Or yeah, something like that. Yeah, because they were down a little bit in speed.
Yeah, I think it only went 316 only though.
Yeah, you say only. Yeah, actually that wasn't a semis. He went 378 at 316. He's low ET by 300ths with the parachutes out through the finish line.
Backed into him.
Yeah, that's some bracket racing stuff right there, man. I like it. Tighten up that stripe. We need to do a little top fuel racing with the index.
That'd be fun.
380 index. I mean, if NHRA...
Get to that chute on time, people.
Yeah, if NHRA is wanting to level the playing field by what they're doing, and they want to have these lower funded teams be able to be competitive again, put a dialing on the thing, man. Let's start chute dropping.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah.
Just then we could go balls out.
How many people could take 5 thou going 320 mile an hour? I know I can't.
You say you can or can't?
No, I can't. Well, the problem, but see, the problem is when you're in the top fuel car, when you see their nose, I mean, you can't see obviously nothing beside you, but when you see their nose or their front tire, they're 300ths ahead.
Oh yeah, they're more ahead than what you think.
Yeah, so it's about 300ths. I'm still trying to figure out that. In the Funny Car, I seen Caps driving away from me last weekend, and I seen about majority of his car out the side window, but he ended up being about 58 thou. But I'm kind of curious how.
Yeah, I saw plenty of Tasco. He was out there, but then it's like if we were running quarter mile, that maybe catch back up to him because either way, it looked bad.
Yeah, I wish they would do more, if we had more side-by-side races, but if they had, I love those cameras that they put on the back of the car, and they'll do like the side shot, where you'll see different, on a good side-by-side race, you'll see the initial jump where one driver will get the whole shot, but then you'll kind of see as the stages of the clutch start applying, and one car will kind of make a move here,
right?
Kind of level out, and then they may make a move around. I love those angles that they have with the cameras. Yeah, how about that? We should go do a 4 flat index race, top fuel Funny Car and dragster.
Let's do it. That could go back to that special event that we talked about last show. Big money, top fuel, Funny Car combined.
But they need to do something with the tree, though. The tree's the tough part in our racing, because
what did they do before? They like staggered it at 100th or something like that, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact number of what they did, but if you look at the difference, typically, now this is last year, but we would always kind of go off of, I guess, like 0.17, 0.18, so
maybe that's where we got to kind of dial it in.
Like, right. So
that way the person next to you can't go off of when you leave.
Yeah, and that's a tough spot for the Funny Cars, or for the dragsters behind, because right about that time of when you hear them hit the gas, that's when you would have to go.
Right. Maybe somehow you'd have to that or change the delay in the tree like we talked about, take that number away.
Yeah, so that 300's tree delay, something that they had way back, I mean, probably 10 years ago, but when they went to the LEDs, they were a lot quicker, and so a lot of the pro stock guys and pro stock bikes had issues.
Their initial reaction is way quicker than what ours are, the cars.
Correct, yeah. I mean, they're leaving on a chip, and so they're up on the RPMs, but a lot of them are red lighting, so they put that little delay in there. But see, that's one thing that I wish they would do with the Funny Cars and dragsters, is they would, right now, I mean, in a funny car, if you're dead shallow and you go 070 on the tree, that's about a pretty good light.
That's where, okay, when we get the qualifying sheets each run, and it's qualifying, okay, and you're looking at the 60-foot times, and the guys are going 880s, 890s, and someone's got a damn 030 or 020, they didn't see yellow.
No.
That's a red light.
They saw yellow after they hit the gas.
Right. I think someone had an 010 in Chicago. So if you take that 300s out like we're talking about, that's red light.
Yeah.
And then watch your ass on race day dumping it in because you're just making it worse on yourself then.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point too, because on race day, typically a lot of the drivers in dragster will all stay shallow together. Now, every once in a while you'll kind of have a little rivalry race or kind of a little animosity race that people will kind of slide it in a little bit, or in the final round. But funny car guys, they do it a lot more, and that's something that I've kind of been getting used to a little bit. But if you were to have it to where instead of the average, I guess, where you're dead shallow and you're 070 on the tree, but you were to have it where when you're dead shallow, you're 20 or 30 on the tree, okay? And now if you slide it in and you do a bad job of staging or you hit the gas early, that's a red light.
To me, that's how it should be.
Right. Not that you go out there and I'm racing you and you do a good job staging and you're shallow and you hit a great light at a 070. In this day and age, that's about the standard. That's about the class average for on the better side of it. But I'm just going to go dump it in on you, and I'm going to hit the gas a little bit early and go 010 and then get out claiming I beat you on the whole shot.
Yeah, and I don't want to hear that you did that and then like, oh man, I had to get up against you because no, you didn't. You just cheated me.
You just slid it in.
Right. You just made me look like an asshole.
But see, I think we've all been on both sides of that. But I think, one thing that I admire about some of the better drivers in Pro Stock, bringing up a great race last weekend, we'll get into a little bit more on that, but the race against Tanner and Erica.
Yeah, that was good. That was good drivers going at it.
That was a badass race, right? So obviously they're both up for that round, and they're both going to do everything that it takes to win that round. They are separated by 1 thou in ET, and they both go 006 on the tree, right? So they utilize the qualifying runs to establish where they're at on their reaction, just like we do in Top Fuel, which typically were 070s, 080s, but they're sitting there going teens, right? Okay, well in that instance, okay, I gotta get up for the driver that I'm racing against. Now, Erica against Tanner, Tanner against Erica, and they're both in that same mindset. They don't just go deep stage the thing.
No, like that's what I like. What they can do, they can make an adjustment to make themselves quicker
with the clutch pedal,
right?
With the linkage.
Where like our adjustment is the brake handle.
Yeah, our adjustment is like, I'm just going to go deep stage on you and I'm going to beat you on a hole shot. Take that, and I just basically pulled a slide job on you.
Correct.
So, but I really admire that about those two drivers. I mean, you look at that right there after what's gone on the last couple weeks, and that's a playoff countdown situation there. As a driver, you mentally, I'm not losing it. I can't lose this round. I'm going to give everything I got. And that's what you do.
That's how you should race every time, honestly.
Absolutely. But we all know that there's a different element when you get into the countdown. There's I want to win in the season, and there's I have to win in the countdown.
Like there's no I can't lose this round or it's over.
Yeah. Well, that's a situation where I can't lose this round. And they both go 006 on the tree. And that speaks volumes about both of their talent levels.
Yeah.
Because they didn't slide it in, they didn't deep stage. They knew where they were at as a driver. They set their cars up on kill, where I guarantee you both those drivers set up 00 on the tree because they both wanted it that bad. And it ends up being a 006 to a 006, 660 with the 0 to a 660 with the 1 thou.
And Tanner was working on it all weekend because we saw him at one point in the staging lanes. I've been wrecking the tree in qualifying. Like, I think his worst light was a teen, he said.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he knew where he was and where he needed to be.
Right, and that I wish that they would allow that in the top fuel side of things, where not just you're able to establish yourself where you feel like you're good on the tree, make some proper adjustments, not by the brake handle.
You're right. I feel like I established myself in Chicago. I was slow all weekend. I can't adjust for that.
Hey,
I mean, I guess I can, but...
well, hey, you got to be consistent.
Right.
You were consistent.
Consistently slow.
A little bit.
I needed to adjust my linkage.
It's, I mean, you look at that and, oh, okay, so you're a 1-0 first round, right?
Yeah, I missed it. I'll admit that I missed it. But was I going to be 55? No.
No. Now, you look. I mean, you miss it. That's what's tough though, is because you run races like that, and I mean, even on your best light in qualifying, you can go high 70 or low 80, and that's kind of where you've established your reaction times for the weekend. And sometimes, it's kind of like what I talked to you about after the run. Obviously you're very disappointed that you lost, and by theory, yes, it was on a hole shot. You're probably in a little bit shallower than he was, but regardless, where you were at on your consistency side of things in qualifying, you had to be 068 on the tree,
right,
in order to win that round.
Right.
And where
I wasn't even close to that.
Yeah, so you would have had to have hit the gas 200s earlier than you had done for the last 2 days.
Right.
And that's always one thing that I've always tried to do, is just establish that consistency, and then that's where you're at. And sometimes you might have a little more adrenaline here or there or whatever, and it'll kind of fluctuate, but you can't get mad that you didn't hit the gas 300s earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
400.
Okay, it wouldn't be as bad if I didn't have a 100 something light. Like that, to me, like, you should never have to do that. But if I had a respectable light, then dude beats me on a hole shot, then probably laugh at the guy like, no, you actually just outran me. But the numbers are fluffed a little bit. Whatever.
Yeah,
we all do it.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is if we had that where the class standard was 20s or 30s on the tree,
yes,
you're going to run into the guy that wants to deep stage on you and roll it in. Well, now it's going to take that 20 or 30 light. Now he's going to be flirting with a red light.
Yeah, and there's been a couple times that guys have turned out the top light this year. I think like that would kind of put an end to that.
Absolutely.
You wouldn't see guys out there with 940 and 950 60-foot times when the person in the other lane is 880s, 890s.
Right.
That's going to tighten that up way more.
Right, and that's it puts us, like, I know for me, it puts me in a bad spot, because it's like, okay, so I'm racing this guy, and in qualifying, I say we're even on the tree. Okay, so let's just say I'm going to go to the crew chief and say, look, we're probably even. We just need to outrun this guy. Well, I know on race day, the guy's going to slide it in 300ths. Okay, so he's going to slide it in 300ths of a second.
That's a lot.
And he's going to tree me by 300ths of a second. Mentally, as a driver, and you're sitting in the race car knowing if I hit the gas the same time as this guy because he's going to deep stage, I'm going to be 300ths behind at the starting line. Now, granted, you're going to make that up in ET.
Right.
But if it comes down to a thousandth of a second at the finish line, you're going to lose on a hole shot. And you have to go back, and you have to address the media about it, and you have to address your sponsors about it, and you have to address your team about it, because at the end of the day,
you have to address everybody about it. I mean, they get showed on TV, and like they're not going to explain what the hell happened.
They don't have time to explain.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a tough pill to swallow when you're in that position. But I think something like that could change. That could be a game changer for our class if Top Fuel and Funny Car both. But if they were to pick up 500s, figure out a way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know.
I'd be game for that.
Might as well change things up a little bit.
Anyway, we can talk about what went down in Chicago. You guys, for everything that's going on with your team now, like, you guys did well. You ran really well in qualifying.
Yeah, we were second quick on one session. We were third quick on one session.
Got some style points.
We got some style points, the little bonus points. Progressing. Brought on Kurt Elliott.
Kurt's a good dude.
Yeah, we're having fun with them. Obviously he hasn't been out here the last couple of years, so he's kind of, he's getting in the swing of things again. But him and Nikki working together is a good thing. The car. Obviously our cars are. We're trying to do as much as we can to run them as similar as possible, but I
feel like they're getting closer and closer as each race goes on now.
Yeah, absolutely. Making better runs, and that's key.
And the tough thing for Kurt is so much changes from year to year, especially when you're gone. Like, we got the power grid now, just so many different tuning elements that he never had when he was out here.
Yeah, and I think that it's just going to take him a little bit of time working with Nikki and Matt Bynum's over there. He's done a great job, and all the crew guys have really done a great job. We've had a couple little setbacks this year with a couple little things like that, but just the guys have been doing a good job. They just continue to work and it's starting to show in the car. We're starting to have a car that like I said, last race we had a second and third quick car. We were able to win a Pedal Fest first round. Lost a good race to Cap second round. We dropped cylinder early, but we dropped a cylinder.
Yeah, pretty much right after you left the starting line.
Yeah, it was like 80 foot out. Dropped a cylinder, and then Caps outran us by 500s. And so
if it doesn't put a hole out, you're looking good.
Yeah, I gives us a good opportunity at least, I think. So yeah.
For me, that's always kind of the tough part to swallow is when you lose to a guy like that when you run on 7 cylinders and then he goes on to the final. It's like, man, could have been our weekend.
Yeah, well, there's always, in drag racing, there's always a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right, it always seems like it goes that way. Like, damn it, if we just that one round.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was actually a interesting thing that happened last weekend in the, I don't know if you saw, but in Top Sportsman.
I didn't realize that guy also won the Jags All-Star race.
Yes.
So he was wrecking them that weekend.
Yeah. He's got a really nice car, fast, man, for Top Sportsman.
Looks like it. Yeah, it's basically like a slow pro mod.
Yeah. So there was a little bit of controversy in the final round, which Don O'Neill ended up taking the win. That his second win this year. So congratulations to him. But the guy in the final had won the Jegs All-Stars, was running in the final of Top Sportsman, and so Don O'Neill left first, and in bracket racing, if you leave first and you red light, you're disqualified, obviously, unless if the guy crosses the center line or hits the wall.
First or worst.
Right. Well, there was a little issue that his car got a little squirrely, and so he lifted and got close to the center line. Now, I've seen a couple little videos that have been online, but he got close to the center block at 660, I believe, and didn't knock the cone over, but apparently when his car went by, it blew the reflector out of the cone.
So, did his car touch the reflector?
That's what I don't know.
Here's another question I have. The cones are as wide as the double lane or the double lines, right?
Correct.
And you're allowed to touch one of the lines.
You're allowed to touch.
You're not allowed to cross it. You're allowed to touch it.
Yes.
Why isn't that cone just a narrow piece in between the two lines?
That is an excellent point. Because, so in the disqualification process, your car, you can touch the line, you can't go over it. But the cone is on the line. So, in theory, you could be riding that line.
You could blow the cone over.
Yeah. So, you can ride the line and you're fine. But if you touch the cone, you're disqualified. That's on the line. So, if you have headers that potentially hang out, your tires wouldn't even necessarily be on the line, but your header could go by and clip the reflector knock the reflector off of the cone, and you'd be disqualified without even being on the line.
It's always such a gray area when it comes to that type of stuff. I feel like our sport is basically pretty cut and dry. Like, there's not evolving changes as we go on when it comes to that stuff. Like, it should all be set in stone. Like, nope, here's the rule, you're out, or this, you're in. Like,
yeah, and I think going back to, what was that, 2 years ago with Hagen's car, when he was running the final round in Pomona.
it was last year.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, last year. He was running or was it the semis or the final? I think it was against Caps, maybe?
I think it was the semis.
Yeah, and I mean, his car, tires on the line, bodies over the line.
Almost over the other line.
Oh, almost, yeah, into the other lane, and they deemed that
Okay.
the run was okay, which is fine. I mean, I'm sure a couple people argued it, but outsider perspective on that is, okay, that's fine, that's the rule. But where is the middle?
Okay, my thing is, when it comes to that type of stuff, let's just say that there's cones all the way down the track. Would he have hit him, or would he have not have hit him?
Right. I mean, my feeling on how to make all this easier is you have the two lanes, and they're black, okay? You have white lines. If there's any tire mark in that white line, it's out.
You're out. You can't. Okay, here, for those that don't know, you can't touch the wall and not get disqualified.
If you touch any
the wall is out of bounds.
all of it.
So the wall should be no different than the center line.
Absolutely.
That should be treated like a wall.
That's the way that it was told to me, is that the center line is like an invisible wall, except you can touch it.
But it's really not.
You can touch it, you just can't go over it.
You can touch the wall.
The invisible wall.
I mean, you can touch the center line.
Yeah, exactly. So my opinion on that is, yeah, you touch any part of the wall, disqualified. You touch the cone, disqualified. You touch any part of the white line as the center line, disqualified. There's no gray area.
Exactly. Therefore, it's no question.
Exactly. But I think in this instance, man, I mean, you know, as much as I was happy, I mean, Don's a friend of mine. As much as I was happy for Don to see Don get the win, you got to feel for the guy, because not only is he going for the race win, he's going for the Jegs double up bonus.
Oh, there's
as
a
well.
bonus for that in play, yeah.
So you got to talk, like, this is probably about a $15,000 swing on one person's decision of, okay, yeah, you didn't go over the line, but you didn't knock over the cone. And from the angles that I've seen, it's very tough to see if he grazed the cone, touched the cone, but the cone didn't go flying. The cone was still in its same spot.
And who's to say that the reflector didn't just fall out on its own?
Now, I did a little bit of asking around about it, and supposedly the reflectors are zip tied in. From what I heard, this may be
there's one right there,
right or wrong. Yeah. So, yeah, we got. How does that reflector come out?
I don't know. You got to think, though, if a cone has been there all weekend, it's going through a lot of vibration, right?
Yeah. I mean, when was
I feel like we should be doing something better than a styrofoam block in the year 2018.
Right.
That looks like something we had in 1918.
Yeah. That's. I don't know. I don't know where.
I don't know what the answer is, but it has to be. There's something out there that's better.
I think so. I think that whole, because when you're going out there and you're looking at your lane, you have your lane. So obviously you're gonna have black tire tracks in the black lane, and then it's gonna go onto the white center line. But then there's a black stripe in the middle of that. So where is that? You know, it's like, well, did it touch or did it roll over? I just think that if you just paint a white line,
yeah. Why are there two lines?
If there's, I don't know.
Like, I've always wondered that. Like, why are there two lines?
Yeah, I think if you just paint, you have a white line, and if it gets tire mark on it, I mean, heck, you may have to have extra paint, because if somebody runs over that, well, it's probably going to create a little bit of havoc on track prep but for whatever that's worth. But you're going to have people just constantly going around it. But if there's a way that you had a fresh white line where it's like, hey, there's
paint the thing every day.
Yeah, if there's any tire track in that white line, that's where.
Okay, how often do you think that those lines get painted?
I mean, they probably before the weekend, right?
Okay, yeah. So what if somebody, sportsman guy, whoever, hits it on Friday night, and you're racing Sunday around the same spot? You're going to tell me they can determine which track is which?
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know. I don't know that they can. I mean, maybe.
And okay, if we're going to put it all on someone's shoulders and make a judgment call, shouldn't we have like the right camera angles also?
Yeah, I know, like the finish line camera. Yeah, I mean, if power goes out and it's a 2,000 race at the finish line, who gets the win? Yeah, I mean, but I mean, going back to that Top Sportsman final to make that decision, I mean, that dude just lost a lot on. I mean, from stuff that I had read was that I mean, they weren't able to see any really replays initially when it all had happened. And I mean, to win the Jegs All-Stars event, and then Chicago for sports and racing's
one of the best guys in the country there.
Absolutely, because all the from stock, super gas, super comp, super street, all these, every class, you have the All-Stars are all there. So these are all the best of the best in every division. So you have all the best drivers there. And this is a very, very difficult event to win. Plus, on top of that, some really great racers in that section of the country. And to do that and to put in that position, and that's got to be tough, man.
Yeah, that'd be hard to swallow. I mean, you can argue all you want, but once that person that decides, oh, you're out, like, they ain't changing their mind, and you ain't changing it for them.
Yeah, and I know that there was an issue a couple years ago with a super comp racer that they had an issue with their brakes or whatever, and he was on a buy run, and I guess pulled the parachute and ended up in the sand trap on his buy run, and they had deemed it that he knew that there was an issue with the brakes before the run. So they disqualified him for the final.
Because he knew they had brake problems?
Yeah. That's what that side of it had said. That
well, he probably didn't have time to go back to his trailer.
Well,
between rounds.
I think they were working on it, and they thought that they had got it fixed. And this was a couple years ago, but man,
yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, for that guy in the final of Top Sportsman, I mean, obviously his car makes a move. He lifts, gets up close to the cone, blows the reflector out of it, and that's a disqualification, and he's out the win. He's out the double-up bonus. And here's your runner-up check of, I think, maybe $800 or $1,000.
He spent more than that to get there.
Yeah.
That kind of makes you want to come back and do it again.
That is brutal. That is brutal.
Feel for the guy.
But how cool the Jegs All-Stars event, though. That's awesome that Jegs does that.
Yeah, exactly. I guess every week's an all-star race for us, but I wish we had something like that. Yeah.
I mean, I was actually fortunate enough to do the Jegs All-Star event back in 2005, 2006, 2007, and as racing in Super Comp, obviously there's not a whole lot of notoriety in that class, but racing that event, the Jegs people, the company, the Coughlin family, man, they really treat you like professionals. They treat you like you're the pros, you're the show, and you go to the event and they give you all these goodies, and you get like this big duffel bag of, I mean, just you name it, they put it in there of all kinds of different Jeg stuff, and then you go and you're in a special group and they have a dinner event for you, and then you go up out on stage.
I'm jealous.
They call you out. I mean, it's a full-blown professional deal, man.
Yeah, they're a good group of people. Racing family that does it right, and definitely they give back to the sport.
Yeah, and you have to respect a company like that. And
how cool is it to see Jeggy win?
Dude,
at the race.
He was a driving fool, man. He was absolutely wrecking the tree.
Jaggy of old.
That's will the real Jay Coughlin please stand up? That was him right there. I know Pro Stock's been a pretty brutal class the last couple years, and he hasn't seen, a lot of wins. But dude, 12 on the tree, 11 on the tree, 16 on the tree, 006 on the tree.
You know who else I saw was wrecking the tree from whenever I was watching was Nobile. It's like when his car is on, like he's tough to beat.
Dude's a good driver. Yeah. No, I mean the last couple. Man, when was his first race win?
Vegas.
Vegas. Since Vegas, like he's just been flat driving good.
Yeah.
I mean he's been hitting the tree. Yeah, this weekend. Yeah, he lost in the semis to Greg Anderson, but yeah, he's 18, 008, and 11 on the tree. I mean,
you do that more than not, then you're going to win races.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, if you got him driving like that and you got Jeggy driving like how Jeggy drives, and then you throw in the mix of people like Tanner and Erica.
Yep. Summit cars.
And then the Summit cars. Dude, these guys are brutal. Like, you got to think about that. I mean, they're setting up that aggressive where they're going 00 on the tree, and I mean, you can't go up there and try to go 20.
Yeah, you don't want to be conservative. I'm going to have a teen against this guy. You're going home.
Yeah, and the cool thing is it brings in that whole bracket racing mentality side of things where, like, in a bracket race, you don't go up there and set up, I'm going to go 18 on the tree because I'm afraid to hit. No, you
got to set like O against people, right?
The dude's going to put on a new set of valve springs because he's going to wear your ass out about 100 foot. Like, you literally set up 001, 002, 003 on the tree. And these guys are doing that in Pro Stock. And you're talking that much. If you're set up 00 anything on the tree and you mess up staging that much, you're red lighting. In theory, if you leave the same.
Yeah, and that's, like, I give it to those guys because, like, they don't bump it in like we do.
Correct. So you look at that, and not only do you have to hit the tree as good as you normally do on level A, but it brings in the staging element of it that you have to stage the car good, so it just adds to being a better driver.
Yeah, absolutely. How about something we were talking about before we started, like the TV deal and the track cleanup and all that issue we had?
Yeah.
So yeah. I kind of wanted to see our bowling deal that we did.
So yeah, we did a pretty cool bowling event
Thursday.
Yeah,
with Sean Rash, who's a pro bowler on the PBA tour. He's won I don't know how many events, Player of the Year a couple times. Badass bowler.
JR actually beat him once.
He let me win. That made me feel good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he gave us some bowling tips. You, Richie, myself, gave us bowling balls from Brunswick. It was a good deal. The NHRA was there filming it. Did some interviews. I got asked about it Q4 after we made a pretty good run that session. I figured they were showing it. I was ready to get home, watch it, turn on the qualifying show, and nothing was there.
Did they even show our runs?
They did not.
So we didn't get the bowling thing on. Our runs didn't get showed.
No, and I don't know if the original qualifying show aired exactly when it was supposed to on time because it was supposed to be live, but there was a serious oil down before that delayed everything, and then they ran the Greek, who was the first hot fuel car in line, and he got to where the track got greased up, blew the tires off, and they realized that there was more cleanup to be had, so that delayed the show even more.
And didn't qualify too, I believe, right?
Right.
So
and he probably could have qualified because it only took, I think, a 398 to get in.
So, yeah, in the oil down, there was a charity race that went on, and one of our fellow competitors was in it, and I had heard that it was a transmission line,
Yeah, I was told that it looked like a crop duster going down the lane.
It looked like a freight train, and it was blowing smoke out, and just drove it straight down the lane the whole way, the whole track, all the way through the shutdown area,
Down the middle.
And it wrecked the lane, and it was even brought to our attention. We had no idea. We had just got called up to the starting line. I got called up to starting line. JR was already up there, and like we had to address the situation because she flat drove it down the groove, dumped all this tranny fluid out there. We're getting ready to go to live TV, and they're trying to figure out ways to clean this track as quickly as possible without ruining.
Yeah, but and being on time for TV.
And being on time for TV. Pro Stock Motorcycle got pushed back after us. Pro Stockers got pushed back after us in order for them to try to clean up this track, all because somebody didn't decide to move over in the lane. And
okay, so that happened, 100 feet into the run?
Yeah.
You pull over as soon as you know that happens. It's probably not that big of a deal because they're not going to really worry about it being as clean over by the wall.
Yeah, exactly.
As they are in the center of the groove. And then once you get up there and see how bad it is, like for me, like I hate being told that, like, hey, you're going to have to be a little left of the groove, or you're going to have to try and straddle this. You know how hard that is in a funny car?
Well, I do now. Yeah, I mean it's on a night run.
Yeah, on a night run.
You're going to a night run. Make sure like you're here and don't be 3 feet this way and don't be 2 feet this way. Oh, by the way, you're going 300 plus miles an hour. That's just stupid. But we need charity events like that. It's awesome. It's for a great cause. I get it, all that. But man, like, just completely like messed the lane up.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't help the Greek.
That sucks. That's his home race, right?
Yes. I think that's his first race of the year too.
First race of the year.
So he got 7,500, right?
Something like that. 17 or 18.
Which it could have been another
2,500.
Yes.
Qualify, get 10 grand. So I've been $2,500 extra.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which, okay, what I'm getting to is, you know something's wrong, pull over. We all know that. You've been taught that from day one.
That's one thing you get stressed to,
and then
when you're licensing. Yeah.
Cleaning it up, like, let's be more concerned about the cars going down the track, not we got to hurry up and get this done.
Yeah, I think that was...
Because in turn, they had to go back and clean it after the Greeks smoked the tires.
Yeah, I think it got put into a rush job situation where it's like, hey, we're going live, like, or we got a TV show we got to do.
Right.
Let's just...
Right. We know how it is. Like, it happens on a race. Hey, you guys got to hurry up and be up here, live TV.
And then I think, with all that tranny fluid, and I mean, all that tranny fluid up there, I mean, it's, I don't know if they needed to go into
maybe scrape.
I mean, really probably to do it properly, but they didn't have the time. So that's why they tried to do the best they could in the amount of time that they had, with also pushing back Pro Stock and bike. But then you run into the time of like, okay, now it's crunch time. What do we do? Fire the first pair, smokes tires. Well, now we got a problem because obviously it's not all cleaned up.
Yep.
So they fixed it. It actually, turned out to be,
I mean, yeah, we went down it. It's just
eventually as more cars started going.
But okay, the replay show, also what I was getting to, the qualifying show, none of us got shown because they're so far behind, I think.
Big effects for just oiling down the whole track, driving in the middle of the groove.
Bingo.
A lot of other people out there, not about yourself.
You said it.
But yeah, what was the deal that you had brought up earlier in the second? Was it second round?
Yeah, I think it was second round. Dougie won. Okay, so when you win, a lot of times, like, we can't get off the track now. You pull chutes, whatever. Sometimes the clutch locks up. You're stuck on the track. They got four-wheelers that come out there and shove you off. Maybe it takes a little time to get it freed up, get into neutral. Well, there's LED lights on these four-wheelers and on the safety safari trucks that blink either red or green. They blink red. That lets everybody on the start line know, hey, not ready yet. Like, don't go.
Don't go.
There's blinking red lights down there still. Fire them up, boys. It was Palmer and Milliken.
Yeah.
Start them up, do their burnouts, back up. Red LED lights still on the top end.
We got to shut off that pair.
Shut them down, boys. Like, why can't we just wait till them LED lights were green? We weren't even live on TV.
Yeah, people getting ahead of themselves.
So, I mean, if you lose, if you're Scott Palmer, like, I'm going to probably complain a little bit about that. Because that just throws out, like, you've generated more heat. Clutch is hotter, blower is hotter, just everything's hotter. You might have burnt more fuel than normal, like, whatever.
Yeah, which they did allow them time to go back and get fuel.
Right, I think I'm sure they had the option of not running right then and there.
Yeah, and it puts you in it puts you in a bad position, because it's like you don't really want to say, okay, we'll go to the back, because you want to run. I mean, obviously, probably for both of them, they wanted the better track earlier,
right,
in the session. So, all right, we'll run, but you still got to go back, probably get 5 or 7 gallons that they've, or maybe more, that they've burned off already, refuel it. But yeah, everything is hotter. Now, I mean, you're talking about everything within, I mean, tolerances of nothing, and you throw in different elements of that. I mean, now your clutch is a little hotter, now your engine temps up, your tires are going to be a little bit warmer. It changes it, but you know, they I don't know what did they do first round? Was that a good race? I can't remember.
Second round.
I'm sorry, second round. Yeah.
I think Palmer smoked the tires. I can't remember.
Yeah, Palmer's he's had a good car this year too.
Yeah, now he's got Jake over there helping him out. That'll probably help him even more.
Yeah. Well, actually, they both smoked tires.
Okay. Yeah. So I would like to think maybe that played into it.
Yeah.
Because, okay, say, all right, well, you guys have the option of going back to your pit. Well, you don't have time to take the clutch out, put another one in, fire it back up, all that. Like, you just can't.
It's a lot of work. I mean, by the time, yeah, because if you did do that and then you did happen to win, you're only getting, 60 minutes before the next round. Well, now by the time you run after Funny Car, if you get put to the back, I mean, you're talking... now you have like a 30-minute turnaround that you'd have to do, and there'd be probably no opportunity for that. Yeah, I don't know.
All right, well, should we answer some questions?
Yeah, man. Yeah, make sure you guys send in your questions. Make sure we can go through. We can start answering some questions now. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nomex Effect. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, we're on iTunes now. So I know we had an issue last time we tried the Facebook Live deal, but the audio on that show worked fine, and you can get it on iTunes and SoundCloud.
Yeah, so...
so one guy asked about the Top Sportsman deal. We touched on that. Should there be a 1,000-foot mile-an-hour cone for sportsman racers? 1,000-foot mile-an-hour doesn't show on sportsman racers' time slips.
Yeah, I mean, no, there realistically there should not be a cone, because you don't get 1,000-foot mile-an-hour for sportsmen.
I mean, do they really need it?
No, it doesn't need to be out there, but it's probably just more of a convenience factor for the track guys not to take it in and out or what have you. But I mean, yeah, when sportsmen run, man, I don't know. It's been so long since I've run sportsmen at a national. I don't know what their standard protocol is, if they leave the cone out there or if they take it out.
I honestly haven't paid attention, because they take the quarter mile cones out for us, and they have to put them back up for pro stock and pro stock bike.
Right.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah. Well, I might find out in Bristol. I'm actually going to run Super Comp in Bristol, so.
Dude, somebody keeps calling me. All right. I can't answer my phone because we're using it for Facebook Live.
Don't call JR if you're calling him. You're going to mess this up. We had audio issues all last week, and now we finally got it.
All right, here Chip's got a question. Hearing about the pressure you guys put on yourself, just staging and reaction times, how much pressure do you put on yourself knowing that Reg and Steve Bryson are at the majority of the races? Besides the self-funded teams, it seems like most of the Team Coletta marketing partners are way more involved than most other teams. I feel like we're hard enough on ourselves as it is. Like Sunday after the first round, Reg was one of the first people over to tell me that everything's fine, that I do a good enough job and I've won more races the other way around and blah blah blah. So that feels awesome coming from a sponsor to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, likewise for me with Steve Bryson with Global Electronic Technology. I mean, he's been really good to me on a lot of that stuff, and I think having a good relationship with your sponsor and having that big respect factor, I think with you and Reg and like with Steve and I, have just you respect the other person for what they do, and obviously those guys are great business guys and very successful in life. Our opportunity is to drive a race car, and they come by and they ask questions, but a lot of times it's motivational pieces that they come by and they talk to us. Obviously we all don't like to lose. There's nothing that they're really gonna tell us that's gonna I guess motivate us any more than we're already motivated to do good, but it's always definitely nice to hear words of encouragement from your sponsor and building that relationship with your sponsor, and it's neat having them out there. Just shows the amount of passion that those guys both have, and obviously they're spending big bucks, so they want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, Reg, he's our our main guy with DHL. He's flying all around the world, and when he's not, he's at the races supporting us, and it's awesome having his support. I mean, he's definitely our biggest motivator. Not that we need a lot, but whenever things are bad or we get beat, he's right there, telling us that we did a great job and there's next week, and he's proud of us and this and that, and that's. You can't ask more than that. You don't want to have some guy sitting there chewing your ass, telling you how stupid you are, or he can find a better person than you. Like that's.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories about that of different sponsors and team owners. I mean, when you're driving the race car, there's nobody that wants to win more than you.
Yeah, we're not out there to do a half-assed job. At least you and I aren't. I know that.
I've heard some horror stories from other drivers about maybe team owners or sponsors coming by and telling them that other people can do better jobs, or just stuff like that, and it's just like, oof, that'd put you in a tough situation. I mean, obviously you don't want to say anything that's gonna rock the boat, but
to me that's gonna, I don't know, I'm not gonna use that as motivation. Just now you're kind of driving scared.
Yeah, and driving scared in one of these cars will never get you anywhere, because if you're going up there second guessing yourself, when you're driving the best is when you have a clear head, but you have 100% confidence in yourself, and you're driving with that passion and that aggression of what got you there. It's one thing to drive that way and feel like you have something to prove, than be on the other side of the ropes where you're sitting there and you're just like, man, I hope I don't mess up, man, I can't make a mistake, I hope I don't red light, I hope I don't two-step it, I hope I don't do this. You're going to be
anytime you worry about doing something, chances are you're eventually going to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of it's just the positive vibes, positive energy, just constantly remotivating yourself. That's one thing about with surrounding yourself with good people, and that's one thing that I've always said, is surrounding yourself with good people, because on those days that you don't have enough confidence maybe to pick yourself up to get over that hump, you have friends and teammates that can do that, and that's where
Yeah, that's the great thing about where we work. I feel like everybody there has your back.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's crew chief's gone, like Jono wasn't there Sunday. He was at his daughter's high school graduation, so then it becomes more of a team effort where the crew chief's got to work together. And we made a great run Sunday first round without Jono. It just shows that the kind of teamwork that we have. And then drivers go out there. I mean, you, Richie, Dougie, like we're always talking, trying to make each other better, or how we can make each other better, what to do better. It's just, I don't know. I don't think the other teams out there have that going on like we do.
Yeah, we definitely got a good group, that's for sure. Nick Turner, who didn't pull off the side? Well, Tim Welch answered that for you. Just, I'm sure you can figure out the last name on that. Mark, I don't want to mess your last name up. Lefkis? Lefkis? JR, how was it to drive for Evan Knoll? That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, neither have I. Yeah, when we had that deal, Skull Shine was on the car, which was part of the Torco Race Fuels ordeal. That was all with when I was with Evan, Dexter Tuttle. We started out as a part-time team. Dexter was basically funding the thing out of his pocket. Then Evan came on board and allowed us to go on the rest of the season in 2006, and we won 3 races and finished in the top 10. It was good having that sponsorship. I mean, we wouldn't be able to go full-time without that, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he helped a lot of people for a long time. I mean, he kind of came out with a big impact.
Yeah, absolutely. It seemed like everywhere you looked, it either had Torco Race Fuels or Skull something on it.
Right. Yeah, I know they had a lot of apparel and stuff like that. But yeah, it was definitely good, man.
Yes, sir. What else we have?
Yeah, Danny Nelson. What's up, Danny Nelson? I've actually done that. So he says, I think what Matt Sackman was asking is, why is the 1,000-foot cone still in place when Sportsman runs? The cone is there sometimes and not others, but never get the numbers on the time slip. You have to really be on your game when looking around, not to confuse the 1,000-foot with the 1320 cones.
That would be easy to get lost because we call it half track, which it's really not half track for us anymore since we go at 1,000 feet. But your half track cone, 660, there's 2 blocks. So then your next 2 blocks that are together are the finish line.
Uh-huh.
Well, that could not be the case for sportsman guys. They leave the mile-an-hour cone out there at 1,000 feet.
Yeah, and I know I've done that. One of my first events, racing at the Spring Fling in Bristol, and this is dating back, man, I don't know when they first started running there, late 2000s, and they were doing 1,000-foot, when they started doing the 1,000-foot bracket race. I was running Mike Fuqua. I think it was like second or third round, and I run right up on him, and I start ripping the throttle early, and I drop, and I look up, and immediately I'm thinking, oh dang, we got to do a rerun. There's no numbers on the scoreboards. Until I realized when he went past 1,000 feet that his time came up, and oh yeah, we're racing 1,000 foot. Yeah, so been there, done that.
I remember
that's a tough pill
when we first went to 1,000-foot racing that there were so many drivers complaining about it because they were used to going to a quarter mile that they were lost on the track. It's like, why are you lost? Those blocks aren't there anymore.
Funny you say that. So we have a bracket race, right? Chris Forsyth and I put it on in Fontana, right? And a lot of racing's quarter mile, okay? So, but a lot of the complaints on people that don't want to race 8th mile is because they don't have a setup for 8th mile. It's 8th mile. You're already racing 8th mile.
You're going through the 8th mile to get to the quarter mile.
Right.
So what do you change?
You don't change anything. So it's all the same. I mean, it's just, as a driver, you have to know where you're at, and I think it's better. I think it's better for drivers that I wish they need to do like a utility race. Maybe draw it. There was a race. Where was this? There's a utility. They ran it in Memphis. I think it was last year, the All-State Challenge utility class. I think they drew out of a hat or something like that. And it was, if you're going to do pro tree, top bulb, or bottom bulb. So it's a matter of if you're going to have delay box or not. If you're going to race 1/8 mile, quarter mile, or 1,000 foot. Change it up.
No matter what car you had?
No matter what car you had, your car had to be able to do any and all.
Nice.
It's either going to be 1/8 mile, 1,000 foot, or quarter mile, and they're going to let you know if it's going to be a full tree or a pro tree, and it's going to be a 4/10 pro tree, or it's going to be a 5/10 sportsman tree that you are allowed to have a delay box in to hit the top bulb, or no delay box, you got to hit the bottom bulb.
That's pretty sweet. That would separate some people.
That would separate the good drivers from the not so good drivers. But yeah. Back to the getting lost thing. But when that first went down with the 1,000 feet deal, it's like, where have you guys been looking? I remember they had those blow up things on the side of the wall, like you see it like a used car lot. Remember that? Yeah. Like, what the hell are those over there for? Why are you looking over there? Exactly. So we actually addressed this when we were in Topeka, right? So we're driving. What was it? Thursday or whatever. We're at the track and we're rolling the golf cart down the racetrack, and we're kind of looking at the track and kind of checking everything out. And we look probably like 100 feet to our right on the fence, and it says 1,000 feet. And I'm like, well, good. All I got to do is when I'm going 300 miles an hour down the track, look 100 feet to my right to figure out, because they had 60 feet, 330, 660, and 1,000. So all I got to do is just look to my right going 300 miles an hour. I got to look to my right 100 feet and figure out where I'm at.
Yep.
Like, no, you look in the middle of the lane. Like, look at the cones.
Yeah, now we have those little, whatever the hell they are, them little pylon things that hang off the wall. But yeah, they used to have those blow-up things, and there was a stack of cones at one time.
Didn't they have some, like, lights or something?
I think there might have been lights at some point also. It's like, no, just, you count the cones in your head as you go by them.
Yeah.
You don't count them. You just know where they're at.
Count to 4 seconds and lift.
People were driving to the scoreboard because that was a reference point. That was before we had wheel counters and auto shutoffs. Like, man, this is bad.
Brutal.
But, yeah.
So, yeah. All right. Well, shoot, man. I guess about answered all the questions. About got it all done.
Yeah, on to Richmond this weekend.
Yeah, we got Richmond.
Have you raced there?
I did 2009. That was my first year. Raced it. I remember nothing about it, so I have no idea.
That's probably good.
But yeah, no, dude, I like getting in these swings. Getting in these swings is awesome. I like doing these 3-4 in a row.
Me too.
In the summer, then maybe you get a week off, and then you're back on the 2 or 3 in a row.
Because if something bad happens, you got less than a week to get back after it. Something good happens, less than a week, you can keep it rolling.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I race every week, and I don't have an off week until Thanksgiving. I'm going to be racing either Top Fuel or Sportsman, so
kind of jealous of that.
It don't make a difference to me. I wish they'd just let's go race for 24 weeks in a row, and we'll just get our season done.
I'm all for as many weeks as possible. I hate going 1 week off, 2 weeks off. Like,
I can't figure out what to do in those weeks.
It's just, I don't know. You get a better routine when you're back to back.
You get in the zone a lot easier, that's for sure. And like you said, I mean, if you have a bad week, it's easy to get over it. And if you have a good week, you want to keep rolling that momentum.
Yep. All right, so we'll be back, next Tuesday?
Yeah.
Recap Virginia.
Yeah.
Get ready for Bristol.
Yeah. Make sure you guys tune in next Tuesday. Recap Virginia.
Hopefully we got a lot of good to talk about.
Yeah, we can. We'll talk about Bristol. We got Norwalk coming up. Got some pretty cool races heading into the big swing of things. So.
Maybe we should do another giveaway. We met our T-shirt winner in Chicago.
Yes. Yeah, so she came by. She got her shirt. We gave her some stickers. She got a hat. But yeah, we'll. I just completely spaced on it, man. I was I was running behind last week. But yeah, so we'll announce it. We'll do the Pick the Pros winner for Virginia. We'll put out a little announcement on our Facebook page, but we'll also put it out on Twitter as well. Do Pick the Pros. You pick, what do we do? The winner runner-up of Top Fuel, winner runner-up of Funny Car, winner runner-up of Pro Stock, and then the Top Fuel
winning reaction time.
Winning reaction time. That'll be the tiebreaker. So make sure you guys get in your picks. Win you some Nomex Effect gear. Make sure to shoot us an email if you guys would like to order some shirts and hats.
We finally got new hats. We got Flex Fit hats and some Flat Bill Trucker hats, shirts.
Yeah,
we're rolling now.
Yeah, so shoot us email over at nomexeffect@gmail.com. Follow us on our YouTube channel, Nomex Effect. So
iTunes, SoundCloud, just type in Nomex and you'll find us. But yeah, I'm glad Facebook worked this week. We'll do it again next week.
Absolutely. All right, man. Thank you guys for joining in, and we'll see you guys next week.